everybody. On behalf of TiE Dubai, it is my honor and pleasure to welcome everyone here today. I'm absolutely looking forward to today's session to hear about Shabana's journey into entrepreneurship and how she went on to build her own little empire, her challenges, her learnings. I'm looking to get inspired and to learn from her journey. Bringing this conversation to light is our own charter member, Abir. Abir heads the Middle East and Africa market for Servify. She's a management executive, experienced in telecom and tech with key expertise in strategy, business development, enterprise marketing, partnerships, digital transformation, and innovation. She has led strategic B2B digital transformation initiatives for a regional telecom group, developed the corporate innovation ecosystem, and created strategic partnerships to extend technology enterprise solutions. A deep sea diver and a qualified piano player, she is passionate about creating impactful businesses that leverage technology to improve lives. Without further ado, Abir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Cicely, for the introduction. Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. And welcome to this TiE Dubai session. First of all, before proceeding any further, I would like to just give you an idea about what we will be covering in the next 15 minutes or so with our guest today. And this conversation will focus on some of the key areas or stages that she's gone through her entrepreneurial journey. And in that, we will cover, starting, scaling, and developing new brands and businesses in the UAE, and the challenges and learnings that come with such experiences. We're also going to touch base on the impact of the current pandemic that we're all witnessing and how it's impacting her business and the beauty and grooming industry in general. We will also get from our guest a sneak peek on the, the future of the industry and the opportunities that are presented right now. What I'd like to remind you of is that this session is also yours, and we would like you to take part by sharing with us your questions and your comments. And you can do that through the Q&A button on your screens. We will try to answer these questions while we're having the conversation. Otherwise, we will keep them till the end. What I'd like also to invite you to do is to answer the poll that we've just shared with you. It's a simple one, 2 questions, but this is important for us. And there will be another poll at the end, also a 2-question one, and that will be important for us to help us in planning future events that are relevant for you. What I'll do right now is I'll go ahead and introduce our guest. So our guest for today is one of the leading women entrepreneurs in the region. She has she's created, developed, and scaled multiple brands and businesses in the grooming and beauty industry in the UAE. She started by setting up a nail spa, and probably some of the women in the audience, I'm sure they are familiar with that. So she started the nail spa as the first regional exclusive spa for hands and feet. And she went on from there to scale that business, and she's grown into other lines, and she's added other lines of business, including premium hair salons called Marquee. And she's also created a dedicated arm for the marketing, franchising, and training for upmarket beauty products. Apart from that, our guest has also won multiple awards in recognition of her role and contribution to setting the standards of premium beauty and grooming in the UAE. It's my pleasure and honor to welcome Shabana Karim. Shabana is the founder and owner of the House of Enspa. And the House of Enspa is a holding company for a chain of spas and salons that offer high-end grooming and beauty services for women across the UAE. So welcome, Shabana, and it's our pleasure to have you here with us.
Hello, Abir. Very nice to be here today with you.
Thank you. So, Shabana, I'm going to ask you the first question since I'm the host for this session. And I'd like to take you back about 18 years ago. That's when you started on your entrepreneurial journey. So you were a full-time educator at the higher colleges of technologies, and you have made the decision to become an entrepreneur because you wanted to disrupt the beauty industry in the UAE, and you actually wanted to solve a problem that you were facing. And you started with, the nail spa, one location in Mercato Mall on Jumeirah Beach Road with 10 employees. And then here we are today. You've been doing different things. You have 22 locations across the UAE, and you're employing more than 500 people. So can you tell us briefly a little bit more about your background and how did you get to where you are today?
Okay. Abir, before we start, do we know how many people are actually logged in? I would love to, because I can't see anyone. So I just would like to know how many people are we talking
to? So from what I see, I think we have 21 participants on the call.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. So to answer your question, it's a little bit of I'm going to take you through little years that jump out. So I'm going to begin with the year 2001. And I'm going to talk about my personal situation at that time. In 2001, I was an educator, as you said, at the higher colleges of technology. By the way, I have a master's in education. So I'm a like a trainer educator. I was teaching Emirati women, getting them ready for the workplace. And lo and behold, to go back a bit, my daughter, who was 19 at that time, is about to go off to college in the US. She graduated from Dubai College. My son is 16, doing his O-levels at Dubai College. And guess what? I find myself pregnant. And I had been teaching 9 years at the higher colleges and, a few years before that in education. And at this point, I said, there's no way I'm going to go back to my full-time job of 8 to 5. It was a rigorous, work schedule, 5 days a week. So that was sort of there in 2001 at the back of my mind. And I said, I don't want to be a slave to my work anymore. Little did I know that, so yes, I decided I didn't want to go back to work, but I knew that I'm going to set up something on my own. And little did I know that I was going to become an even bigger slave to my entire situation. So then moved to, I'm going to take you a few years back, many years back when I was growing up as a child. And, my dad and my parents, they come from India. I was born in India myself. They come from Bangalore, and he comes from a largish family. So they were always entrepreneurs. They work for themselves. And my father and his 7 brothers, they had the distributorship for Philips, Sony, Sanyo, and Murphy Richards between India, East Pakistan, which is Bangladesh, and Pakistan. So, and I remember sitting as a child, after meal times around a dining table and listening to their animated, excited conversations, very passionate, talking about their challenges with a lot of excitement. And I remember thinking, wow, this is amazing. This is so, it was something so different. And I guess I imbibed that energy. I must have absorbed it, and it stayed within me for, I guess, many years, until that year in 2001, when I thought, well, I'm going to give up working, but this is what I've always known I wanted to do is set up on my own, be my own boss. So it was something that I wanted to explore. So at the ripe old age of 42, I decided to, get into business. Then I'm going to take you back to 1996, when I first moved to Dubai from Abu Dhabi. I was still a teacher at the higher colleges. And even then, I was very particular about my hair, nails, and I would always look. I remember driving up and down Jumeirah Beach Road which looked very different then from now, and looking for a salon during my lunch break from work, and which would be like between 1 to 2 or something, and or after work, after 6. And guess what? I would find all the salons closed because they would close for siesta in the afternoons. And then you would have after 6, they would be shut. So it was a very frustrating experience getting into a salon. And then second thing was that when I did find something open, it was not up to my standards, customer service, the hygiene, and so on and so forth. So this was an experience that I had been going through for, say, 5 or 6 years here. And then one time, coming back to 2001, when I was fully pregnant, visibly pregnant, I went into this place, which had just opened. It was supposed to be the cool place. And 9 to 9 open, and I thought, wow, this is amazing. And there was a lot of write-up and press reviews, and I thought, let me go and try it out. They didn't take appointments then, so I went in as a walk-in client, and I saw the whole reception area was pretty crowded and full, and I got a slot after an hour's wait. So I said, it's fine, I'll wait, nowhere for me to sit. Then I said to the lady at the reception, I'll sit outside and on the bench, and come in when you call me, just call me, I'll be outside. She said, you leave this, you go out of the door and you lose your slot. And then half an hour into this, I kept quiet. I stood there. I said, okay, now before I go in to have my nails done, I will go use the washroom. She said, you leave the place and you lose your slot. Anyways, I went through this, did wait for 1 hour, had my service, and I came home. And that was a day. It was like the final straw on the camel's back. And I said to my husband, this is it. I know what I'm going to do. This is the business. And, I'm going to bring to Dubai what I would want to see as a customer. And so my whole research was based on what didn't exist here as opposed to what did exist. And have never looked back.
Excellent. That's very exciting. So I can see that you've had lots of influence from your family being a family of entrepreneurs, plus the fact that you had a certain need that was not met by what is available in the market. And both of these things have pushed you, to go ahead and start your business. But from what I know, so you started with an idea, and it's a great idea. You executed it. It came to life. But then I believe starting a business is one thing, but then scaling it successfully is another thing. And for you, scaling to the level where you are today, I'm sure you must have, faced different types of challenges and lessons and learnings that you've gained through this experience. And I think it would be great if you can share with our audience some of these challenges and the learnings that they can take with them also.
Okay, so as a founder, I was very hands-on involved in my business. I would go into the spas at say 8 a.m. when they're supposed to open at 9, and I would shut shop at 10. I would actually be at the front desk the entire day. As a founder that's growing and we're scaling, the biggest challenge I found is when you have to move yourself away from the customers. It's very scary. I would love to chat with them, interact with them, keep a pulse on the business. So that was a bit that I found very hard. So now I had to sit back and think how I would scale my personal impact. And then the other thing was to trust and empower people that you've hired to be able to, carry that passion forward. You can't teach anyone how to be passionate about your business or your idea. So these were the two things that were really challenging to scale. So I think the things that we had to scale were losing my personal impact. And as we grew, we found ways around it. Also how to keep a pulse on the business. HR and recruitment was huge because remember, for us, even when we had the one location in Makato, it was 10 therapists. And what we wanted was that each therapist could do a service, or we call them technicians, could do a service at the same standard and the same level. So they would have to be trained and standardized between themselves. So we had to hire the right people to make sure that everybody, even in that one location, could perform the business, could perform the service at the same standard. So as we grew, our trainings continued. So even before I started, going back to before I started, the first thing I did was to set up manuals. There was something that told me, I mean, I did not have a vision to, have 22 locations when I started. I was very happy to get one location and have this 10 therapists who I flew to Philippines, hired them, brought them back. But there was no plan to have this, but I knew at the back of my mind, and I guess it was the teacher, the trainer in me that said, no, we've got to set up training manuals. We've got to set up processes. So before we hired people, we set up this, and as technicians came on board, as the receptionists came on board, trainings happen around the manuals, around the processes. So systems and processes was a big part of our growth and our scaling. And HR and recruitment was also in what we did was we had employee recruitment manuals. So whether a manager hired or another manager hired or was an HR person who hired, we knew what we were looking for across the board, and we looked for those right people. We hired for attitude over skill. You know, we always believe you can train someone how to do something, but you can't change their mindset, you can't change their personality. So all these things were very overtly and deliberately written down, and we would train people, whoever came on board, around these processes. So processes were a big part. How we interacted with customers was also, you know, the idea of that was written down, very deliberate, and trainings happened around that. Interactions with employees, how we, you know, what is our belief about employee interactions, what we think of our teams, our infrastructure. When we grew to 22 locations, we had to design and develop and build. So it was a very standardized manual for our infrastructure. Training and development as well, you know, we onboarded trainers. So all these things helped us to scale and grow. I remember when we opened the 8th location. I'm telling you 8 because 7 days of the week, once a month, we would have a monthly briefing in each location, and I would attend those briefings. Now, when we opened the 8th one, I couldn't attend because they would happen around sort of that same week. So then we said, okay, let's do a video recording of me talking to the teams and share that. And that's what happened. And that's how I shared my personal impact with the teams. And so this went on for a long time. So the one thing is that, you know, it's very good and well and good to set up manuals and processes and systems, but training is the next stage after that. You've got to train around that. You've got to onboard people around that. You need to ensure that we ensure that implementation happened, monitoring happened. So this is part of our culture, and that, I guess, helped us to seamlessly kind of scale without us realizing that we were scaling. Our whole, I guess, our culture, our setup helped us to scale smoothly. Does that answer the question, Abir?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I mean, I see the key messages are, you know, having the right processes and systems in place that enable you to scale, having the right training, and maybe having everything documented in the form of manuals. And I think most importantly, you're talking about, you know, your own impact and being able to scale your own impact without having to physically being, you know, present in every single location.
Absolutely. And one more thing I want to add is about keeping a pulse on the business. And I think that's important for whether you're a budding entrepreneur, you're a startup, or you are an established business. I think that's very important. And you know, I would keep a pulse on the business in Makato when we had 10 therapists by being present and talking to people and the employees, the customers. But now, even though I have the privileged position now of sitting in the back seat on I'm a chairperson in the company, I don't get involved, but I can tell you, I read every single customer feedback that comes in. I'm part of that loop. And so I know at any given time what's happening and what people are thinking. So I won't look at the financial numbers, but I will read this every day. So yeah, I think moving away from the business and distancing yourself doesn't mean you lose that. You don't lose control by doing that. And that's what I think I've got a balance there right now.
Excellent. So Shabana, I was thinking, so another element that comes into the picture when you're growing and scaling a business is you want to make sure that your business remains differentiated from other services that are available in the market. And I'm sure that competition would be, very keen, especially if you're introducing something which is new and something which is successful. So others will keep an eye and they will try to copy what you're doing. So how do you make sure that your business remains differentiated? What is the source of innovation that you bring into the business to keep it always ahead of everyone else in the market?
So one of the things in this regard, I have always done is during the summertime, that's what I love about my job, was the traveling and the research. So I always said, oh, I've got to go to New York because I've got to research some things over there. And it was always I love mixing the holidays with the walking around and trying out different salons, trying out different services in the UK, in Singapore, and Japan. I think half of the time I've visited any country is just spending time in these places. So that was a source of, looking at new ideas, looking at, then you go to the beauty shows. So in Bologna in Italy. So there's a lot of that. Then you come back and then you develop the idea. You either import the product. We would import our products directly. You would import the product. You would set up brand it. You would set up the service, and then we would have an iterative process for putting it out there in the location. So we would try it out in one location with a couple of therapists. We would work on it, improve it, get customer feedback. We would request for customers to volunteer to try out new services, and then we would do something called in the website world, you have the A and B testing. So we would give 2 or 3 therapists. One you'd give the original service, one you'd give the modified service, and you'd check their revenues, check the feedback from customers. So these are the various ways in which we have brought in and introduced new services. To your second point about competition, I remember getting very nervous about we've got to hide our manuals. When employees leave, they've got to sign a non-disclosure and all these things. I found over years that all that stress was for nothing, because honestly, people have taken our manuals and gone and worked for competition, and it's different. It's I can't explain, but there's something about your belief, your vision and your passion for your business that is only in the business. And when you go off and try and do it in another place, or somebody tries to copy it, it's very different. In fact, on competition, I'll tell you, we have even trained our competitors' employees on how to do services, because I know you're going to ask me this question later, but we import products for ourselves directly, which means the guys sending their products to us will say, okay, you can't keep it yourselves. You've got to share it out in Dubai. We said, fine, we'll become the distributor. But that means we have to train our competitors' employees. And so we would have them come in. So, this frenemies concept that is so new, we were doing it for like 15 years. And we would do it with integrity, with our hands on our heart, that we would do the best we can. And they would love to come. They would take the products from us because they know they were getting training from us. So yes, I think it has to be a kind of we have to be open-minded, and nobody can take your ideas and do anything with it. This is my approach.
Okay, got you. So Shabana, I got a couple of good questions from the audience, and they're related to scaling. And since we're on the topic of scaling, if you don't mind, I'm gonna ask you. So the first question is related to the manuals, and you stressed the importance of having, the manuals and how, handy this was for scaling your business. So here's the first question. I'm going to read it. How did the manual hold up when there were times of crisis or when things suddenly deviated from the plan? Was the response centralized or delegated?
So this is a very good question. So we would, every time we went through a crisis which was not covered in the manual, we would go back and rewrite the manual to include that process. Okay, so that's in hindsight. We had like stages of empowerment. So we would have like, if there was a front desk person, they could take care of it up to this level. Then you would have to escalate it to a manager. And if it was something of this sort, which was to do with health and safety, then it would go right to the top. So there were different levels of empowerment for different types of, like, for example, the local supervisor in a store would have the authority to give a free treatment if some, like the guarantee back kind of service. So yes, it went along. And of course, you can't cover everything in a manual. And yeah, we would have to then trust that people, take the right step. But we didn't get to that many situations where, it was beyond the manuals. I mean, that to an extent, it was okay. I think if you run the systems and processes, properly and stick to your procedures, and people buy into your systems, that's important. That employees have to buy into it, and then it kind of flows. We'd never had any major issues like that.
Okay, great. And the next question is related to franchising, since franchising could be an important, option for scaling a business. So here, what the question says is, first, thanking you for sharing your very interesting journey. And can you share your experiences with franchising? What has worked and what has not? And is it better than doing it yourself directly?
In the beginning, I always thought that franchising is a route that we go on. I even went to New York and attended a whole franchising seminar, which was like a whole week, and learned everything there was. I still have those manuals sitting there with me. We started putting together a franchising manual of our own. But, as Dubai grew and as we saw what was happening around us, it just didn't feel right. I think to answer your question I would not franchise. Franchising is a responsibility. It's a very good way to make money because you're not investing, you're somebody else is investing, you're giving your know-how, but it's a hugely responsible position to be in as a franchisor, which is that you need to support the franchisee because it's a win-win for both. And I've seen a lot of the times when franchises fail is this approach of, okay, you need to give me the royalty and your whatever the money arrangement is, and then here's a manual, now go and run it. But it doesn't work that way. And so if the franchisor has not properly established an infrastructure within the company to support the franchisee and help them along, I would treat one of the things I was thinking was maybe I would treat one of my stores as a franchisee store if we owned it and see how that would work. So anyone who's wanting to go down the franchise route, I would do it very organically and a lot of checking and testing. But to go out and franchise, it's the easiest thing to make it the very last thing. Hold on to your business as long as you can.
Okay, great. So Shabana, my next question is about, I was thinking about your, the way you grew your business. So you started with the nail spa and then you moved into premium hair salons and you've set up your own marketing, training and distribution arm. Mm-hmm. So I just want to get from you an idea about the, the logic behind the strategy, the logic behind this growth plan. Mm-hmm. That's one part of my question. And the other part is, I wonder if you've ever considered getting into the men's grooming industry, because I believe it's, there's a good market for that, at least here. And I was just wondering if you've ever considered getting into this, yes or no, and why?
Okay. So your first part of the question was to do with, okay, we were known as the experts in the nail industry. So we were just doing pure nails. And then what happened was when customers started coming in to have their nails done, they said, we would love to have in-room services like your waxing, massage, and eyebrows. And so it sort of grew from that. They said, you do the nails so well, we know we trust you. We know you're going to do the other bits. as just as well. So it kind of they pushed us, our customer, we listened to them and they pushed us into this. And then the hair came because I think I was ready. I think I was bored, not with the nail spa, but I think I wanted to set up a brand. It was again a passion project to try out my branding skills. I work with a great branding agency, and it kept the excitement going. And for us, it was a great adjacent because women were coming to have their nails and other services, and they said, you know, it would be great to do our hair, but we didn't want to do our hair within the spa, but we with research and development and you know, working with a good branding agency, and we set up marquee. But it's interesting to set up a way where it shares a common reception, but when you turn right, you go into a totally different setup and atmosphere and energy, and you turn left, it's different. So we thought it would work well, and it's proven. It's really marquee's taken off well, and we have, you know, established ourselves as the sort of industry leaders in the hair industry. And going to your question about the men's concept, I think it's natural that we would, you know, head in that direction because we have the infrastructure in place. We have, for example, we know where the designers are and what type of layouts and stores. We know the services, except that the customer demographic changes. But however, I think we said, let's stay to our core business. We wanted to focus on what we did really well, and that is to deal with women. I think we got the women part just right. We know how they think, we know what they want, and we really wanted to, you know, keep it that way. However, I'm sure if somebody came along, say we went and we got an investor into the company, and they said, you know, we want to grow, get value out of this and have a men's concept, I think we could do it at, you know, click of fingers, because we have everything in place, so it's ready to go. We've had malls approach us and said, hey, you know, why don't you set up a great concept for men's grooming, and we'll let you have a space. We've kind of stuck on growing our you know, the nail spa and marquee, and then we also set up a distribution company because it wasn't it was to do with the fact that while we were distributing buying products from local distributors initially 15-20 years ago, we got into problems because of stockouts and, you know, lead times. And so I remember one Christmas, when that's our peak time for business, our local supplier said he's run out of this and run out of that, and we lost a lot of revenue because we relied on him for products. So we said we want to cut out the middleman and import it directly. So hence we got into distributorship, and we brought a few brands to Dubai. It's a whole different ball game, but for us it works, and so hence we got into that. And men's concept, who knows, you know.
Agree. Okay, Shabana, I have a question also from the audience, and I'm not sure. I will read the question, then I'll tell you what's my understanding of the question, but you can feel free to improvise. So the question says, if you had to change education today, how would you change it? So my own interpretation is that since you started your career as an educator and then you became an entrepreneur, and if you have the opportunity to, you know, change the education system to probably prepare you to become an entrepreneur or to do what you're doing today, is there anything that you can think about that you would do to?
I think if you're going to ask me the question that had my, how could you change education to inculcate this entrepreneurship mentality? I don't think education can do that for you, if that's the question. I think it comes with a host of other things. I think it's like, I come from a family of, we're 4 siblings, and I'm the only crazy one. The others are safe and very, you know, sort of, they want to have a job or no job, and, you know, but I guess it's individual personalities. It's what you absorb from, you know, your surroundings. It's my dad, I think, because I'm the eldest, he also was very like, he always fed into my mind that I'm going to do big things. I'm going to be different. So I guess all those things matter. You know, the belief your parents have in you, the belief the adults around you have in you. Those are the things that are important values, you know, the belief in yourself. But education, the way I've been educated, I was educated in very traditional schools in Pakistan. And then, of course, I went for higher education to the UK. But I don't know what I would change if you are talking about the entrepreneurship angle. I mean, I know they had universities in the US. My son, who's 18, was going off to Babson to learn entrepreneurship. And I was saying, why do you need to go to university to learn entrepreneurship, you know? So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you can learn it. But I would, if somebody wanted to maybe as a young student start working in startups, being surrounded by that energy, understanding how these businesses work, what makes the founder tick. And, you know, those are the things that would be important, is more internships, more work placements, I think.
Okay. So another question that I have, and I think we cannot avoid but you know, ask this kind of question, because with the current pandemic, I'm sure every business more or less has been impacted. And I'm sure your business has been impacted by the situation. So can you tell us a little bit, how was this impact, and does it really also present any new opportunities for you going forward from here?
Okay, so, you know, like everybody else, we were shut down for a month from the 25th of March to the 25th of April. When we were told we could open on the 25th of April around that date, we were told you can do only these services and not something else. Plus, on top of that, we were told that you can't have every seat occupied in your spa or salon. And now we're a bit like an airline. Every seat for us is money. So we literally had to tape down and put a cling film and, you know, really put a no sort of entry sign on every other chair, which still exists. So eventually they started allowing us to do all our services, but with so much restriction that literally today we are running at 50% capacity. So for the first month, it was no business. For the last 5 months, it's been at 50%. So to answer your question, our revenue has been hugely impacted. How do you you know, work with that? Of course, you have to cut costs. But my son runs the business now, Salman, and we already run a very lean, trim organization. So, and you have natural attrition as well. So that all worked out. We've closed down a few locations, which were not, you know, which we were going to close down eventually, but this kind of pushed it down the road. And our biggest challenge has been with one of our stakeholders, which is our landlord. I always, honestly, it's disappointing because I always saw this relationship as a partnership. There's not a question of it's not a competition that, you know, I'm the winner and I'm the loser, but it's a question of a win-win for both sides. And some landlords were proactive and came to us and said, hey, you can have whatever, 3 months off, 6 months off, and so on. But some of the others have stuck to it. And I see these are the losers who will see a lot of shops hoarding, you know, being shut down and hoardings in those malls. And so that's, landlord has been our biggest challenge. And of course, you know, there's no, with the COVID, there's no certainty about the future. So I guess we're working on very short-term plans. You know, previously it was 1 year and 2 year and 5 year plans. We don't do those things, I think, anymore. We take it a day at a time. And I'd say that what we're not doing is we're kind of holding still. We'd be servicing all our customers. You know, they're more than welcome and we're really taking care of them. But from a business growth perspective, we're just holding back. From now to the end of next December, we're going to wait and watch and see how things go. So yeah, these are the ways. And the other thing that COVID has done is customer habits have changed. And you know, they're so used to sitting on the sofas and being online and working from home and shopping from home and hardly stepping out of their homes. Even now that the lockdown's lifted, it's all from home mostly. So I think the next thing for us is really this business of bringing our spas and salons to people's homes. I think that's the next thing that would be huge if somebody figured out a good viable model for it, because I think that's the trick, is to get the monetization just right.
Mm-hmm. Great. So Shabana, I got an interesting question from the audience, and this ties to a chat that we had a couple of months ago, and it's about creating a marketplace for, nail spa and beauty services. So I will read the question. The question says, do you see a market for an aggregator service or marketplace for home services for spa, nail, or hair services, which works like the way it happened in the F&B or food services business? So this is also linked to what you just mentioned.
Yes. So they do exist. And I think in Dubai, people have tried. I have gone on and tried various, they've got this aggregator model. I don't think it's to the extent that, how you have Talabat and what is the other one? Deliveroo and, Karim and all those people. I think it's not as sophisticated. Yes, there is a scope. However, remember, we are not dealing with packaged food. We're dealing with people. We're dealing with humans who will have to take themselves to people's homes and do the service. So you're creating the product. So it's different. In the US and in the UK, there have been a lot of companies, that Glam Squad, and there's a few others. But it works differently because the labor market is different. It's a free market. Here it's very different. So it could work, but one has to work around the local, scenarios with how things operate here. Yes.
Okay, and I have also some comments on this from the audience. One of them says that Fresha, Urban Club are truly great aggregators. Mm-hmm. And ClassPass is also a great aggregator, which is tweaking its services to include beauty. Are you aware of this, and what do you think?
So the thing about aggregator models and platforms is that you have to see what is their ultimate goal and ultimate objective. Once you sign up with these as a company that owns nail salons and hair salons, once you sign up with these aggregators, you lose control of your business. You first of all give away a share of your revenue, and secondly, they have all your data. And remember, when people have all your data, you lose that competitive advantage. So we believe that we're large enough to have our own, not a platform, but an app to manage our own business. So yes, I know about all these. I know about ClassPass, I know about Fresha and the other companies, and they have tried, and we are courted on a daily basis to try and, get on board with them, but we are staying away.
Okay, excellent. So Shabana, we have about 12 minutes left, and maybe we can spend some time talking about the future. For that, I would start by taking a question on the future of the audience, and this is, linking your initial vision and mission for the business with how you see the future and how you will grow your business in the next 10 years. So let me read the question. Mm-hmm. What were your visions, missions when you first established your first presence at of the brand? Mm-hmm. And how did it help to the growth? And how do you see your business in the next 10 years?
Okay. So I'll start with talking about my vision. It was a very simple, basic idea, and that was, I'm going to read out, because my vision was to offer the best of, and we've stuck to that, and then we've expanded around that, and it was the idea of even 18 years ago, we knew about the importance of feeling over the looks, what clients, it's all about the client feeling, not about the client looks. And so customers were coming into a haven for short respites of affordable relaxation. So that's kind of our whole approach to our model. And we've stuck to that. What was your other part of the question?
So going forward, how do you see your business in the next 10 years?
Okay. I think it won't, the core of my vision is going to stay. We will have, for example, to tell you, like currently right now you have hygiene anxiety, for example, amongst general population and amongst our consumers. So, we have testers in our spas of products. That's eventually down the road we're going to have to stop. So we would bring in AI innovation to try out virtual testing on screens. So more technology, I think, would be incorporated. And really also would help us to make our whole experience more intuitive, to really get to understand what the customer needs and give it to them even before they know they need it. So those are the ways it would change. Other than that, we may have the men's grooming, we may be regional, who knows, those kind of things. Yeah.
Great. And I also have a question, something that I've always been impressed with you, and I know that you're a lifelong learner, and I just got to know that you've just completed, a course or even a degree on the digital business strategy with MIT and Columbia. So I'm just curious to know, why did you do this degree, and what else do you do to keep yourself, relevant and connected to what's going on in the industry and in the market?
So I'm a sucker for punishment. I think that's what I would call myself, because I sign up for these programs and then I'm saying, why the hell did I do it? But once I signed up, I have to see it through, and I have to get, I have to be the A++ student. But no, honestly, seriously, I believe it's very important to keep relevant. Technology is something that's fascinated me. Without getting into the coding and, the really technical elements, I found this course to be absolutely just the right level for someone like me to be able to speak the same language as, general public, not the general public, people who are in this world, the technology world, who are looking to bring transformations of technology into their older business models. And also, so I think in my business, in our company, technology is definitely something that we believe is going to take us to the next level. From that, I love mentoring, and with TiE and with EO, there's a lot of, I think, more startups that are technology oriented, and I want to be able to speak their lingo, to understand what their needs are, and these sort of courses, this degree is going to help me to do that. How else do I stay relevant? I subscribe to a lot of what do you call them, journals, and I read those. LinkedIn is a great source. And also being part of organizations like TiE and also EO, network, and so through meeting people, and beauty ambassadors group, owners of the beauty salons and spas. So yeah, so and through traveling and those kind of ways.
Excellent. And there's one more question that I have to ask, since you're a woman entrepreneur, and we don't have many women entrepreneurs, especially in this part of the world. So I'm curious to know more about, throughout your journey, your support system, and the kind of support that you got from your family and your friends, and how did it shape your journey? And I think this will be great for other women entrepreneurs or aspiring women entrepreneurs who are in the audience.
Okay, so I'm going to answer your question, but I'll go one step before that. I think, a lot of people say, what was the disadvantage of being a female or woman entrepreneur? And I think that it's always worked in my favor, and especially in this region, the government offices and in all those areas, I really felt at a huge advantage. And also the business that I'm in, I think it's best suited to a female, a woman. But going back to your question on the support, so my husband was a big part of the reason also why I set up the business. So he was a chartered accountant. And so the night I went home and I told him, you know, about my experience at this place, we sat down the next day and we made a feasibility together. So he was the first one who helped me put together a feasibility plan. And at those days, he was working as a CFO for Enoch. And once he's sort of finished his 10 years there, he said, let me come on board and become the CFO of this organization. So we worked together for many years. So he was taking care of the finance and all the boring drudgery bit that I didn't want to get involved in. All I wanted to do was spend money and, you know, and not care about budgets. So that was his role. Currently, my son, who's a Stanford graduate and a Bain management consultant, is running the business. So I have completely handed it over to him, and he's doing a fantastic job. And my daughter, who's was working at the Met in New York, and also she's a educator like me, and she has a Bank Street education in teachers. She's a teacher, trained teacher. The brand that you see today of TNS is due to her. So yes, everybody has had an involvement and you know, helped me to, and now I'm in the privileged position of sort of sitting back and enjoying the fruits of my labor. And you know, they don't want me involved. They want to do it themselves, and I've empowered them. I tell you, it was the hardest thing I ever had to do. It was like separating myself from my fourth child, but I think it's the best thing that I've done.
Fantastic. So Shabana, we have only a couple of minutes left, and I would like to end this on a lighter note. And as we were chatting the other day, you were mentioning to me some of the new trends that you're seeing in the market, with the people's focus on, let's say, the you know, the eye the eye cosmetics rather than focusing on the lips, the sales of lipsticks. So yeah, since we're all wearing masks now, so if you can share with us a little bit of those, you know, the trends that you're observing in the market. And this would be the last question I have for you.
Okay. So interestingly, there's something called the lipstick index, and this was set up by Leonard Lauder. He's from the Estee Lauder family to measure the sales of lipsticks during a downturn. So he set this up in 2001, and it was seen that during a downturn, the sales of lipsticks would go up because it was an affordable luxury for people to buy lipstick and feel good. It was the same during the Second World War. Apparently, the US found that the lipstick sales went up. However, during the COVID, everything turned on its head, and it was all topsy-turvy. They saw the lipstick sales go down because people were wearing masks. And what really took over was the eye factor, you know, eyelashes, eyebrows, and you know, eye makeup. So that is seen a surge. And the other thing is skincare. Skincare was always, you know, at the top of the beauty and personal care product selection, but now it's taken a real front seat, and not only women looking for skincare, but like good quality skincare. So remember, they've had all this time at home to declutter their cabinets, so they've thrown away the cheap, you know, they just want one quality product. So there's a surge in sales of high quality, high-end skincare. So people are going in for quality over quantity. They're going in for this no makeup look, a sort of natural look. It's all about how you feel versus how you look. You know, that those aspects are coming in. They're looking for value, not in terms of just money, but how long does the product last, or how long does the service last? Like, for example, if they've had a manicure, does a manicure take them 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you know? So value. They're looking for sustainability in products. They've always looked for that, but now they've gone sustainable plus clean beauty, like, and you know, they call it active skincare, like things with scientific formulas that, you know, a molecular structure that's with the viscosity of this level that's going to penetrate into the skin and be really effective. So active skincare, scientific skincare is the next thing. Also, the thing about what is it called, the antiviral, antibacterial beauty. You will hear a lot of antibacterial beauty. So people want things that smell good, they feel good, but that's going to protect them from viruses and germs. That's going to be the big thing as well. And self-care is becoming big. So remember, I think habits stick. So during the lockdown, people got so used to self-care and taking care of their own, hair color and beauty regimens, that I think that's sticking around. And so you'll see a lot more tutorials on YouTube, and those are going to be around for a while. And of course, the AI innovations I talked about earlier in terms of virtual testing and design for distancing. Just remember, this is like a total opposition to our industry, because we're all about touch. So technology is going to, I don't know how that's going to work, but there's going to be some happy medium we'll find where you do it, the service, but you don't touch. But so yeah, these are the kind of sort of changes we'll see. Yeah.
Fantastic. So we've come to the end of our session. So thank you so much, Shabana, for this enlightening and interesting conversation. And I'd also like to thank our audience for attending and for their participation as well. And please feel free to respond to our last poll. And we look forward to seeing you in our future events. Thank you very much and have a nice evening.
Thank you, Abir.
Thank you. Thanks.